My name is Robert Evans, and I am a Sony Artisan of Imagery, who specializes in wedding and portraits, and also loves to shoot sports. I wanted to share with you a wedding that I photographed in New York over Memorial Day weekend on Ellis Island. I wanted to let you into my head and let you know what I was thinking and the camera and the lenses that I chose to photograph each situation. I have been photographing weddings for well over 27 years, and I've shot thousands of weddings. And even though weddings are very similar, each story, each time I get behind the camera, is completely different. We started the day in a beautiful penthouse suite overlooking the city, where the bride and her bridesmaids got ready. I usually get to the room about an hour or so before my start time, so that I have time to photograph all the details. The shot of the shoes was taken with my A99 and my 85 1.2 lens, one of my favorite lenses. I wanted to shoot it wide open, so I blew out the background. And then the dress, I used my Sony A7 II with my 24-70 A lens, so I had the adapter on it, so I can shoot my A series lenses on my email bodies. After I photographed all the details and candid shots of the bride and her bridesmaids getting ready, it was time to do first look. So I scouted a spot. I usually like privacy, light, and then location. Well, this was an amazing view, but the light wasn't optimal, being that it was in the bright sunlight. But I couldn't pass up the view. So it was kind of tight quarters, but we made it work. And I used the door here to kind of add a little extra flair to it and get a reflection to make the first look a little bit more dramatic. Before we headed down to Battery Park to catch the ferry, we wanted to do some shots on the stairs of the Met, or the Metropolitan Museum. Of course, there were a lot of people there, and the lighting was terrible, so I had them put their sunglasses on. I actually shot this with an A6000 with a 16-35 Zeiss lens on it, and just kind of give it a little more fun, fashion-y feel. I wanted to try to get an image with a little more emotion involved in it, and so I had them sit on the steps and look at each other. And I also slowed the camera down, so I shot about 100 ISO at a 15th of a second or so, and I tried to blur the crowd in the background. So I did get a little bit of this here with this guy coming down the steps, and then, had them forehead to forehead and a little smile and a little more interaction. And I think, again, with the lighting, I made these images black and white because I think it lent itself to the lighting and the situation. So we made it down to Battery Park, and we got on the ferry. Of course, we didn't have a private ferry. We were on the ferry with every other tourist that was there that weekend for Memorial Day. So it was really hard to shoot them without a bunch of other people in the shot. So we did find an area. We got some permission from get kind of towards the front of the boat. And again, direct sunlight, so I had them keep their sunglasses on and do just kind of some fun, more dramatic-y, model-y, I don't know what you want to call it, but I got lucky and got some boats in the background. After we dropped off the first load of tourists at the Statue of Liberty, when the ferry comes back around, there's a really great shot of the Statue of Liberty. So again, I had them at the front, and of course I had this really cool schooner come into the shot, and so I framed, of course, them to one side, Statue of Liberty in the middle, and then the schooner on the other side. And just to switch it up a little bit, wanted it to be black and white because I think it lent itself better with the old boat. As we continued to make our way over to Ellis Island, she was sitting on the benches with her girls, and they had these really cool umbrellas that said Ellis Island on them. And I was just taking some candids with my 85 1.2 and focusing on her as she was sort of having fun interacting with her girls. This was the view as we were pulling up in the ferry to Ellis Island. There's two sides, and this is the left side. I had never been to the island myself, so it was really pretty. It's end of May or middle of May in New York in spring, so it's really beautiful, and this is an amazing historical place where most of our ancestors entered into the United States. When we arrived, there was a huge lawn in front of the museum where it was perfect. It was in great shade and nice trees, and so of course we did all the family portraits here. This is a great shot with the groom with his grandma, and then the other shot of the bride as she was sort of walking away across this really pretty field. And I shot these also with my 85. A lot of times when I do my small groups, my 1s and 2s, meaning people, I like to use the 85 because I just love the quality of that lens. As you can imagine, I had several large groups to do, so as I was doing the other groups, I noticed one by one the bridesmaids going and sitting on these steps over here, and eventually they were all sitting there and the bride joined them, and this was just kind of like I, again, just walked over and shot a couple quick candids of them sitting there and talking, and I really love these real moments at a wedding where people don't know you're taking their picture. So after I finished the family portraits, we headed over to the opposite side of the flagpole where the ceremony was going to take place. The bridal party went inside to get ready to sign ketubah as it was a Jewish wedding. But pretty much at the flagpole, this is the view that you see when you look across to Manhattan. Just amazing. It was like such a beautiful day and all the different boats sailing by. So this is the view that the guests were going to see. I snapped this image shortly before the ceremony, before the guests had arrived on the ferry, just to kind of show the spectacular overall view. I did have someone there shooting decor, so I like to grab a few shots for myself just so that I can use them right away. But this is the stunning view that everyone was going to see. And as you get in a little bit closer to look at this, I just wanted to show just the chuppah with the city in the background because it was such a brilliant idea with the clear chuppah so you can see through and it didn't block anyone's view. These were shot with my A7 II and my 16-35 lens. And now as I came in even closer, I saw the wine sitting here, and I really wanted to try to capture the reflection of the buildings in the wine, seeing through it. And you can see the lines and you can see them there. I mean, I guess if you don't know what's in the background, you don't know what was there, but it's kind of a cool shot. And then of course I wanted to feature the string quartet, again with the city in the background, shooting this in mind to give to the band as a promotional picture for them. I mean, how much are they going to love this? So 20 minutes or so before the ceremony begins, I like to sort of hang out with the bride and groom, her bridesmaids family, sort of behind the scenes and shoot candids. So here they were lined up to walk down the aisle, and I have the flower girls in the foreground and the bride and groom next. They had kind of a long walk before they got even to the white carpet on the other side, and then I followed them all the way in. And then again, this is amazing. You have this, beautiful sailboat sailing by while the bride walks down the aisle. I mean, just so perfect New York. This image shot with the A6000 and the 16-35 Zeiss. I wanted to shoot a really wide shot and kind of give the perspective that someone in the back row of the wedding was seeing. It just shows the overall view. I think it lent itself to black and white in this case, showing the yarmulkes that it's a Jewish wedding, but really just what a spectacular view. Now as I come in to show a little bit different perspective, still shot with the A6000, but I switched to my 70-200 G-Series f4 lens. I love the A6000, such an amazing camera, and it's light and it's easy to shoot, and just the focus and the image quality of it is such a great camera. I'm so in love with that camera, but I wanted to show here just a little bit more close up, again, compressing the buildings and bringing them in a little bit for a little bit more of a dramatic view. Here, probably my favorite shot of the entire day, the bride and groom walking back down the aisle with the New York skyline behind them. Again, I used the A6000 with a 16-35 lens, purposefully framing them off to the right and putting it on continuous shutter, so I was shooting 11 frames a second, just getting everything as they came back down the aisle, every expression, everything. I used that camera a lot to shoot sports, which made me think well, why shouldn't I use it when they walk down the aisle and fire off 10-15 frames and get something great instead of maybe 1 or 2 that I might do when I'm just looking through the camera myself. Here's a quick detail. They had the seating chart for the guests with luggage tags, which went with the theme of Ellis Island and people traveling. I just thought it was a really nice touch from the planner and all the thought that goes into a wedding. Very unusual cake. And again, sticking with the New York theme, if you look at the detail on the cake, the beads of the cake and the outline are of the New York City skyline and buildings. Just really, really cool, and I don't think I've ever seen a blue cake like this. Headed into the reception, I switched from my A7 II to my A7S because of the high ISO capabilities. And a lot of times I'll shoot only available light at my receptions now and let my assistants and other photographers shoot with flash. But this was so brilliant. I mean, the color in the ceiling, they had put the stars in the ceiling and the lighting, and I really just wanted to capture the mood of that as, you know, as if they were dancing under the stars. As the party continued, I went upstairs on the balcony and wanted to shoot down, give you kind of a bird's eye view of a packed dance floor and, you know, everybody having a good time. As the reception went on, I had to sneak outside and see what that view was going to look like of Manhattan with the city all lit up. And of course it was spectacular. I took this image with the A7S, 16,000 ISO at f16.3 at 1/25th of a second. The low light capabilities of this camera is just amazing. They brought the cake out onto the dance floor for cake cutting. Again, I'm shooting available light here. I want to show the blue of the ceiling and the different colors throughout the room while my seconds are shooting with flash to cover it both ways. The party continued, and yet I wanted to show another aspect of the wedding, or a different perspective, and really like use the A7S to its full potential. So this was at 6400 ISO at f22 because I wanted everything in focus from front to back. It's about 4/10 of a second of an exposure, but I rested the camera on the railing and fired off about 4 or 5 frames. And even sometimes when you do that, even if there's camera shake from that, one of those 4 or 5 frames is going to be tack sharp. It was an amazing night, and of course even more amazing that they ended the night in fireworks. The guests had to be off the island by about midnight, so about 10 minutes to midnight they asked everyone to go outside, and they shot fireworks off from a barge right out in the river. This image was taken again with the A7S, 10,000 ISO at f5.6 at 1/25th of a second. And of course you have to get images with the bride and groom and the fireworks, which always can be a challenge. And in this case, I did have a challenge because right then my A7S battery went out, and all I had with me was my A99. So this image, believe it or not, was taken with the A99 at a 1000 ISO with a wide lens at f2.8 at 1/20th of a second. And I had just asked the videographer to continue to light them for me, and I used his light to light them and then expose for the fireworks. And I got 3 or 4 really great images, and these are just a couple of them. So I hope you like this little video presentation. It's something new that I'm trying. I think it's really kind of neat to sort of let people inside your thought pattern and what you're doing. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. So hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. Everything, I'm at Robert Evans. If you want to send me an email, hello@RobertEvans. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you'd like more. Thank you.